The forest was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that made Private Jack Harper's skin crawl. He crouched behind a fallen tree, rifle in hand, his breath visible in the cold morning air. Around him, the remnants of his platoon were scattered, their faces gaunt and uniforms caked with mud. They had been on the run for days since their unit was ambushed near the Belgian border. Now, deep in the Ardennes Forest, they were lost, exhausted, and running low on supplies. Jack glanced at his watch. 0600 hours. The sun was rising, casting a pale light through the trees. He turned to his best friend, Corporal Sam Riley, who was crouched beside him, scanning the tree line. "Think we'll make it out of here, Jack?" Sam whispered. Jack forced a smile. "We've made it this far, haven't we?" Sam nodded, but his expression was grim. They both knew the odds were against them. The German forces were closing in, and the forest was crawling with patrols. Every step was a gamble. Sergeant Henry Hank Miller, the platoon's leader, crawled over. His face was lined with exhaustion, but his eyes were sharp. "We're about 5 miles from Allied lines," he said. "If we move fast and stay quiet, we might make it. One wrong move, and we're dead." "Understood?" The men nodded. They had been through hell together, and they weren't about to give up now. The platoon moved out, their movements slow and deliberate. The forest was thick, the underbrush clawing at their legs. Jack's heart pounded with every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig. He kept his eyes on Sam, who was a few feet ahead, rifle at the ready. They had been walking for an hour when the first shot rang out. Jack dropped to the ground. The sound was followed by the chatter of a German machine gun. The platoon scrambled for cover, returning fire. "Stay down," Hank shouted. "We're pinned." Jack peered over the fallen tree he was using for cover. He could see movement in the distance, shadows darting between the trees. The enemy was closing in. "We can't stay here," Sam yelled. "We'll be surrounded," Hank cursed. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but retreat wasn't an option. "We'll split into 2 groups," he said. "Jack, Sam, and I will draw their fire. The rest of you, flank to the right and hit them from the side. Move fast." The men nodded. Jack, Sam, and Hank stayed behind, rifles trained on the enemy. "On my mark," Hank said. 3, 2, 1 now." The 3 of them opened fire, their shots ringing out. The enemy returned fire, bullets whizzing past Jack's head. He ducked behind the tree, heart pounding. "Keep firing," Hank shouted. "Don't let up." Jack obeyed, squeezing the trigger again and again. The barrel grew hot, the recoil jolting his shoulder. He didn't know how long they could keep this up. Suddenly, gunfire erupted from the right flank. The rest of the platoon had reached their position, hitting the enemy hard. The German soldiers, caught off guard, began to retreat. "Fall back," Hank ordered. "Now." Jack, Sam, and Hank scrambled to their feet, running toward the safety of the trees. The enemy was still firing, but their shots were wild. The platoon regrouped, their faces flushed with adrenaline. "Is everyone okay?" Hank asked. The men nodded, though some were nursing minor wounds. They had made it through the ambush, but they weren't out of the woods yet. The platoon pushed on, their pace quickening as they put distance between themselves and the enemy. The forest began to thin, the trees giving way to open fields. In the distance, Jack could see the faint outline of a village. "That's St. Leon," Hank said. "If we can make it there, we might find help." The men nodded, their spirits lifting. But as they drew closer, their hopes were dashed. The village was in ruins, its buildings reduced to rubble and streets littered with debris. The smell of smoke and decay hung heavy in the air. "What happened here?" Sam asked, his voice trembling. "The Germans," Jack replied, his stomach churning. "They must have come through here." The platoon moved cautiously through the village, their eyes scanning for signs of life. They found none, only the remnants of a once thriving community. As they reached the center of the village, they heard a sound that made their blood run cold, a child's cry. Jack froze. He turned to Sam, who looked just as shocked. Without a word, they followed the sound, rifles at the ready. They found the source of the cry in the ruins of a church. A young girl, no more than 6, was huddled in the corner, her face streaked with tears. She looked up at them with wide, frightened eyes. "It's okay," Jack said softly, lowering his rifle. "We're not going to hurt you." The girl didn't respond. Jack knelt beside her, his heart breaking. He reached into his pack and pulled out a piece of chocolate, offering it to her. The girl hesitated, then took the chocolate, her tiny hands shaking. She nibbled on it, her eyes never leaving Jack's face. "What's your name?" Sam asked gently. "Marie," the girl whispered. "Where's your family, Marie?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. The girl's lower lip trembled. "They're gone," she said, her voice breaking. "The bad men took them." Jack's chest tightened. He looked at Sam, who nodded grimly. "They couldn't leave her here." "We'll take her with us," Hank said. "We're not leaving anyone behind." The platoon continued their journey, Marie cradled in Jack's arms. She clung to him tightly, her tiny hands gripping his uniform. Jack could feel her trembling, and he held her closer, trying to offer comfort. As they walked, Jack thought of his own family, his parents, his younger sister. He had joined the army to protect them, to fight for a better world. But the horrors he had seen, the lives he had taken, weighed heavily on his soul. He wondered if he would ever be the same. The sun was setting when they finally reached the edge of the forest. In the distance, they could see the Allied lines, tents, vehicles, and soldiers moving about. Relief washed over the platoon. "We made it," Sam said, his voice filled with disbelief. Jack nodded, though his heart was heavy. They had survived, but at what cost? The war was far from over. As they approached the Allied camp, a group of soldiers ran out to meet them. A medic took Marie from Jack's arms. The girl looked back at him, her eyes wide with fear. "It's okay," Jack said, forcing a smile. "You're safe now." Marie nodded, though her tears continued to fall. Jack watched as she was carried away, his heart aching for her. He hoped she would find peace. "You did good, kid," Hank said, clapping Jack on the shoulder. "You saved her." Jack nodded, though he didn't feel like a hero. He had done what he had to do. But the war had changed him, and he knew he would carry its scars for the rest of his life.